Hey folks, just a quick content warning before the episode begins. The women in this play have suffered some horrific events. In the play, they describe the details of sexual assaults, hate speech, and poor medical treatment, including abortion. Strong language is also used. So, if you're listening with children or find that difficult to listen to, this episode may not be for you. Also, we've decided to change things up a bit here at the Table. The actor intros and interviews will now be at the end of the play. So, if you're interested in meeting the actors and hearing a little bit about them, keep listening after the play is over. Thanks!
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Drama Bookshop in Midtown Manhattan. I'm Rachel.
Hey, I'm Ned.
We're back. We're thrilled to be here today. Ned, why don't you tell everybody what we're doing here?
Well, we are here at the Drama Bookshop to do a reading of the fabulous Little Wars by Stephen Carl McCasland.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've been excited about this one for months now. Psyched. And we're here with an incredible group of actors. Today in Women's History Month, we have an incredible group of women.
Little Wars by Stephen Carl McCasland. Stein and Toklas' country home in the French Alps, June 21st, 1940. France will fall to Germany in less than 24 hours. A piano sits in one corner of the stage, paintings and easels in every other. Some canvases are complete, some are barely touched. A sofa and coffee table down left, an armchair not far away. There are candles burning in some places, a lamp glowing on a tabletop next to the armchair. A half-drunk glass of scotch sits on the table too. But more than anything, there are books. Bernadette, a maidservant, cleans nearby.
I said, I'll tell you when I'm dead. They'd tilt their heads a little, my students, eyes wide. Stupefied, Gertie would have called them.
There's a ghost in this book.
I'll tell you when I'm dead and buried, I said. But if it's a story worth telling, I heard one girl say, then tell it.
I repeat, there is a ghost in this book.
Yes, I told the girl. But for every story worth telling, there's a dozen secrets worth keeping.
There is no ghost in the book.
I open it and I hear him.
Alice enters with a drink.
It's a him?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if there was a ghost in your book, how would you know it's a him?
He has a very deep voice.
Perhaps it's Marlene Dietrich.
Oh, don't be absurd. It's Yeats.
Of William Butler?
Yes.
Because that isn't absurd.
There is a ghost in this book, Alice. In this book is a ghost, and when I open it, I can hear him.
Yeats.
Listen.
Agatha will be here any minute.
Who?
Christie, you invited her.
I?
Yes, you read her article.
I, Gertrude.
Of Stein, yes, and you rang her.
I don't remember.
You invited her, Gertrude, and she'll be here any minute.
An intellectual hatred is the worst.
Do not quote Yeats, please.
He is speaking through me, and I am speaking through him.
You're drunk on scotch.
Wine comes in at the mouth, and love comes in at the eye. That's all we shall know for truth before we grow old and die.
You must stop grieving.
One cannot grieve words.
Then you must stop sulking.
I'm not sulking, I'm reading.
Agatha will be here soon, and she's bringing guests. Please put away the Yeats and the scotch and the grief.
Grief and reflection are two very different things. What guests is Lady Conan Doyle bringing?
Don't call her that.
Then I'll call her Aggie.
Just stick to Agatha.
I shall not stick to anything. What have you known me to stick, Alice?
Not now, Gert.
I, Gertrude Stein, invited Agatha Christie to dinner, and by dinner I mean alcohol. And Agatha Christie has decided to return the favor by bringing guests.
They're Americans.
She's bringing Americans.
Yes.
There are Americans in Europe besides us.
I asked the same.
Who?
I'd better not.
Not Lily.
Oh, dear.
Not Lillian fucking Hellman.
It's just a few hours, a little tea.
Lillian is a contemptible bore.
She and Yeats have that in common.
Must you speak ill of the dead?
Oh, Gertrude, really. You hated William when he was alive.
And now he's dead. I can appreciate it.
Then just picture Lillian dead, too.
I've tried. It doesn't work.
Try harder. They'll be here any minute.
And who is the third?
Dorothy Parker.
Who?
A writer.
Everyone is a writer.
You will like her.
Or perhaps I will hate her. Or perhaps she will hate me. Or perhaps she will like me and I will like her. And why are they coming?
You invited them?
I most certainly did not invite Lillian Hellman.
She hates it when you separate the syllables like that.
I know.
Please don't pick a fight.
Lillian is the fighter and I am the debater. There's a difference, and this is a salon, and in salons we debate about fighting instead of fighting about debating.
But Lillian
is a bitch!
That's them.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Of course.
That is a lovely dress, Bernadette.
Don't flirt.
Gertrude Stein does not flirt.
She flirted with me.
I merely wrote a poem.
Has Ms. Stein written you any poems, Bernadette?
No.
Do I detect jealousy?
You detect boredom. I'd like another poem.
Then another poem you shall have. I love my love with a V, because it is like that. I love my love with a B, because I am beside that a king.
I'm looking for an Alice Toklas.
Miss Toklas is preoccupied with poetry.
Nonsense, don't listen to her. She's a bored old woman.
I am not old, for I am young.
Are you? Let her in, Bernadette.
Bernadette opens the door and lets the woman in.
Mary? I'm Mary.
Oh, we were expecting you tomorrow.
There's been a development. I must take an earlier train. And you are Miss Stein.
Of the Gertrudes, yes.
Would you like to sit? A drink? Surely you must be thirsty.
Scotch works well on alpine evenings.
I shouldn't.
Then perhaps your coat.
Excuse me. Would you please... I think perhaps we should be alone, Miss Toklas.
Of course. Bernadette, could
What?
you take...
Could she what? Could she leave?
Yes.
We should have privacy.
There is no privacy in a house of writers.
I'm sorry if I've offended you.
I'm not easily offended. Unless, of course, you are Lillian Hellman. Then the very sight of you would offend me. You have not offended me. You've merely made an error.
Gert.
Bernadette has served me coffee and tea and scotch and wine and brought me paper and ink, and she has made my bed and fluffed my pillows. And once she held me while I cried because I was blocked and couldn't write, and when a writer cannot write, she dies 10,000 deaths. And if she can serve me coffee and tea and scotch and wine and bring me paper and bring me ink and make my bed and fluff my pillows, and if she can hold me while I die 10,000 deaths and do all that while knowing that there is Jew in my blood, she can stay for this conversation.
Very well. As Ethel told you, each mission requires 200 francs. 50 for the passport, 50 for the guard to look the other way, and another 100 for the boat.
And how will you get the passports across the border?
The passports will be sewn into the lining of my hat.
Who will be helping?
There are many who are waiting.
Children?
Yes.
Women.
Yes.
We'll make sure one is a child.
And one is a woman.
And the third?
Smart.
Kind.
Both.
I promise you it will only be used for good.
Wait here.
Gertrude exits.
Will you be safe?
Yes.
Where will you stay until the train leaves?
I will wait at the station for Ethel. She'll arrive just after sunrise. The train departs at 9:30 sharp.
You'll stay there all evening?
Yes.
Won't that seem suspicious?
I will just miss the last train of the evening. I'll be stranded, forced to stay. No one will bother the helpless American.
Why not stay here? Leave when you must. At least stay the night.
Thank you, but I mustn't.
But you need your rest. You can't possibly sleep in the station.
I've done it before.
How?
With one eye open.
But an American in Europe during wartime,
Last names aren't important.
Surely it must be suspicious of you.
Well, there are always questions, Miss Toklas, but this isn't my debut. Certainly, it's gotten a bit more dangerous since I first began. I've been back in America for quite some time, though. When we left, my husband and I, we had to board our daughter with a governess in Vienna. We couldn't take her with us.
However do you stand it?
Without sleeping, I suppose. I returned to bring her home with me when I was asked to assist on they needed someone a bit more skilled for this particular mission.
They needed an American.
That too.
You really should stay the night. The house is warm and we've plenty of food. And company, too.
Company.
Soon, yes, we're having dinner guests.
Oh, I must be going then.
Why?
The more people who know, the more dangerous it becomes.
Gertrude re-enters with an envelope.
No one will know your secret but us.
It is difficult keeping secrets from friends.
They're not our friends.
Gertrude and I have been keeping secrets for many years, from friends and from foes.
We have mastered the art of lying. 400 francs, 2 passports, 2 Jews.
Thank you, Miss Stein, truly. And Miss Toklas?
If I'm to respect myself, Miss...
Mary.
Your last name?
Last names aren't important.
Our friends will want to know.
They are not our friends. They are writers.
Writers?
American writers, too, apparently.
In Europe?
Not all. There's an Anglo, too.
Perhaps.
What? Perhaps what?
Perhaps I will stay.
Then you will most certainly need a surname.
Buttinger.
Very well. Fetch Mary Buttinger some scotch, please, Bernadette. It will warm your innards.
No, I really should.
Please, your coat.
I must keep my wits.
And are those wits inside your coat pockets?
Mary allows her to take the coat. Alice hangs it on a rack near the front door.
Sit with me on this sofa, Mary Buttinger. Where did this begin?
What?
Your story, your mission.
Necessity.
You are providing remarkable service, Mary Buttinger.
As are you.
Nonsense.
These funds will go a long way, Miss Stein. Thank you. And Miss Toklas.
If I'm to maintain my sense of self-respect, Mary Buttinger, I must do what is right for my people. That I am safe and others are not.
You are surviving.
I'm cowering. It has not been easy. It has not been easy being an American Jew living in France. I have cheated myself and my people to survive.
But look at what you've just given me. Look at what you've just done.
Everybody knows if you're too careful, you are so occupied in being careful that you are sure to stumble over something, and I do not wish to stumble over my conscience, Mary Buttinger.
But someone must tell the story. If we remain silent, no one will ever know. Politicians should be politicizing. Preachers should be preaching. Writers should be writing, Miss Stein. Silence will only mean death.
Bernadette re-enters with a drink. She brings it to Mary, who does not drink.
Go on.
I'm sorry?
The drink wishes to be drunk.
Aren't you going to have one?
I've had several.
Fact.
And so has Alice.
Another fact.
Go on. The drink wishes to be drunk.
Yes.
Mary brings the drink to her lips, but is stopped before sipping.
Wait.
Oh, dear.
She hasn't any ice.
Bernadette, she hasn't any ice.
Oh, but Miss Stein never
But I am sure Mary Buttinger does.
I do.
I am a rare kind of bird.
And we're two birds of a feather.
I will get you the ice. Bernadette, I will get the ice.
No.
Nonsense, sit. Your feet deserve a rest, so rest your deserving feet.
But
when the doorbell rings, you may assume the position. Lily Ann will expect it.
Bernadette reluctantly sits.
Fuck.
What?
I'm sorry, Miss Buttinger. I do not use that word very often, but fuck.
What is it?
I still haven't changed. I was going to change my clothes.
Nonsense.
But the way Lillian looks at me.
Lillian Hellman can piss up a rope. Ice.
She exits.
Excuse me, Miss Buttinger. Bernadette will keep you company.
But I really
No,
must...
I'll only be a moment.
She exits.
Who is Lily Ann?
Lillian Hellman.
Lillian Hellman as in Lillian Hellman?
Yes.
The author.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
you can call me Mary, please.
Thank you.
What brought you to this house?
I worked in a cafe, and I served them wine.
Who?
Miss Stein and Miss Toklas.
You served them wine?
Yes.
And now you're their housekeeper?
More than that.
You're not telling me everything.
The wine was everything.
It must have been very good wine.
They've been kind to me. When I need kindness most, they were kind to me. Isn't that enough of a reason?
But it is a little odd, don't you think? The sheepish young country girl comes to work for the radical lesbians. There's a story there.
Maybe you are a writer after all.
Gertrude re-enters holding a tong and an ice cube. She puts the cube into Mary's glass and joins her on the couch.
Have you ever thought about how ice can only melt because it is already frozen, and the opposite of freezing is melting, but perhaps it is also thawing, and if the ice can only melt, that is a sad existence because always melting must be lonely.
Miss Stein, I think I will stay the night after all.
Well then, melt away.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Of course not, but I'm afraid that means, my dear Bernadette, that you must be on your way and make up a bed for Mary Buttinger.
Oh, I don't...
Of course.
Bernadette is very young.
She needed to be rescued. There are no other motives, Mary Buttinger.
Oh, I was not insinuating...
We are lesbians, Mary Buttinger, not animals.
Of course.
Some people forget things. I do. We move on. I've been forgetting things lately. I forgot 6 words last week. I move on.
Yes.
Tell me, why have you gone into this line of work, Mary Buttinger? Tell me.
It was the right thing to do.
Who told you that?
Myself, I think.
You either know or you don't know. You can't be simple and think at the same time. Who told you it was the right thing to do?
I did.
You.
Yes.
Of the Buttingers.
Yes.
You were correct. But I'm not as brave.
But you are. You're helping. That's brave.
I must do what I can if I'm to look myself in the eye. The Jews have produced only 3 originative geniuses: Christ, Spinoza, and myself. And how can a genius turn its back on an entire race?
What did you mean you were rescuing her, Bernadette?
There are joys in being a lesbian, Mary Buttinger. Joys beyond the physical. And the joys are joyous because you do not come into contact, not often, with the other race. With them, with men. Have you ever been penetrated deep and rough with no sense of feeling, no sense of pleasure? Just gored like a matador in a crowded arena with cheers as the bull rips out your innards like spaghetti?
No.
Bernadette has.
Alice re-enters.
This will have to suffice for Lillian.
Excuse me for asking, but exactly who is Lillian?
A bitch.
An author.
Then Bernadette wasn't joking?
Bernadette never jokes, not even about Lillian Hellman.
That will be them.
Oh, I must put this away.
Quickly then, into the hat.
Alice and Mary put the envelope into the seams of the fur hat.
Funny that. 3 Jews hiding in a fur hat in the French Alps in a closet in a house where cowards live.
We are not cowards, Gert.
But we are safe and they are not.
You cannot save them all.
They are not flowers in a windstorm, Mary Buttinger.
Aren't they, though?
The envelope is hidden and the door is open. Lillian enters first, pulling off her gloves and shrugging off her coat. Bernadette catches it before it falls. Lillian is followed by Dorothy. Lillian is clearly unamused by her surroundings.
Some digs, Gert.
Lily Ann.
You must be Mrs. Toklas.
Careful, Dottie, that's the maid.
She's kidding, and you can call me Alice.
Must I?
Please, your coat, and Lillian, your hat.
Maybe later. I'm glad you didn't pick up on account of us.
Pick up what?
This and that.
Ignore her, Gertrude. She's only teasing. Hello. Dorothy Parker.
Hello. You're a writer.
Yes, just like you.
I doubt that.
Ignore her, Dorothy. She's only boasting. Gertrude loves to boast.
Of course I love to boast. Everyone loves to boast, don't you?
I certainly do.
And who are you?
Mary. Buttinger.
Where's Agatha?
Mary Buttinger. What have you written?
Did Agatha come with you?
She's a writer, Lily Ann.
She took a separate car.
What then, a sculptor?
A psychiatrist.
Was Agatha far behind?
Only a few miles, I think. She doesn't like the way Lillian drives.
It's paranoia.
Lillian likes to speed.
Agatha likes to crawl.
I would think it was the reverse.
Despite your modest surroundings, Gert, do tell me, where are you hiding the scotch?
Bernadette will get that for you.
No ice.
And what is an American psychologist doing in the French Alps in the middle of a war?
I'm visiting family.
Good to have family in Europe during a war, don't you think?
Dorothy. Dottie.
Dorothy will do.
I like Dot.
It doesn't really matter what you like. My name is Dorothy.
I'm afraid I've never heard of you. What do you write? Dot.
Everything.
Be specific.
Poetry. Stories, too.
Criticism.
That's the easy bit.
What sort of criticism?
Whatever sort I feel like. Theater, cinema, books, Tuesdays, you know.
Criticism seems such a waste of words. What do you write well, Dot?
Everything.
I do believe Gert has finally met her match.
In what?
Arrogance.
I prefer to call it confidence.
Did you come to pick a fight, Lily Ann?
I'm only having a little fun.
Fun.
Only a little, Gert. Now tell me, has your maid gone to Scotland for the scotch? Is she distilling it herself?
I do not engage with terrorists.
Lillian speaks very highly of you, Gertrude.
Does she?
Yes.
I do not care for liars or lie.
I've said it before, Gert. You're very talented. Ferocious.
Ferocious? I?
Gertie, please.
I ferocious?
Yes, but some of your work is quite...
Some?
Yes.
She can't possibly like all.
Can't she? Is it physically impossible to appreciate an author's entire canon?
Name one. Name one author whose every word you hang on.
Ernest Hemingway.
Oh, dear.
What? What, Lillian?
The man is a hack.
Don't you dare!
Every single word just reeks of booze. Can't you smell it when you open the pages? All that anger? Have you ever had a glass thrown at you by Ernest Hemingway?
No.
If she had, she would have deserved
You
it.
don't really believe that. He's volatile.
He's
and...
passionate.
Tell me, Gertrude, when Ernest created Brett Ashley...
The sun also rises.
Very good, Dr. Buttinger. Do you think, Gertrude, that Brett Ashley was supposed to serve as a punishment for poor Hadley? Oh, Hadley was Ernest's first wife, darling. Elizabeth Hadley.
Richardson, yes. I've read about them.
Ah, and have you read about me?
Don't change the subject.
I'm just curious.
I don't give a damn about your curiosity, Lily Ann. Brett Ashley was a painful character for Hemi, and I won't have you turn that gorgeous piece of writing.
It's juvenile.
It's no such thing.
It's amateur. The writing is
Ernest
amateur.
leaves everything on those pages.
Nonsense.
What do you leave, Lily Ann?
Bernadette enters with the glass of scotch for Lillian.
Ferocious indeed, Lily Ann.
Finally.
But you have yet to hear my roar.
Gertrude knocks it from Bernadette's hand and into Lillian's lap.
No!
Christ, Gert!
Lillian Hellman will not drink my scotch tonight.
My dress!
Your dress, your dress, your dress. Who cares about your dress?
I care about my dress, thank you very much, Christ!
Why did you have to do that?
Stay out of it.
Bernadette, please get Miss Hellman another drink and a towel.
This will stain! Christ!
Buy another. No scotch for the bitch.
Oh, Gertrude, please.
Please what? Don't what?
This is no time for games. Bernadette, a towel, please.
Absolutely not. Let it air dry.
Please get her another drink, Bernadette. Miss Stein is having a little tantrum.
She isn't drinking my scotch.
Christ, I don't want the goddamn scotch. Just a fucking towel, s'il vous plaît. Now, Bernadette, please.
Don't yell at my maid like that, and stop saying Christ. You're a Jew. You're not fooling anybody.
Oh, Gertie, shut up. You're drunk.
That is a fact.
And you're being very nasty to dear Alice.
There is no such thing as being good to your wife.
She is a very patient woman.
Perhaps we should go.
Nonsense.
But
This is what they do, Miss Parker.
I see.
Something about the two of them together. It's like oil and water.
Like salt on a slug.
But they haven't killed each other.
Yes.
See? An agreement. They come along rarely, Miss Parker, but they do happen.
Fine. A scotch. Do you want ice?
No.
Well, that's too damn bad, because you're getting the fucking ice, Lillian.
Did you want something, Miss Parker?
Gin and tonic, please.
A staple of mine. I like your taste.
Gertrude and Alice exit.
Is she flirting with me?
Don't be an idiot.
Gertrude is.
Yes.
I don't know many lesbians. Then again, there is Edna Ferber.
You, Miss Buttinger. Or is it Dr.?
Mary, please.
I never liked Miss Hellman much either. Then again, Lillian isn't anything special. Oh, it would have been fine if it were just a flower, but then they had to go and add the Ann and butcher a perfectly lovely name like Lily. Arthur used to call me that, Lily. Even on our wedding day, he said, I, Arthur Kober, take Lily Florence Hellman to be. And somewhere in the room, I heard my mother scoff. Of course, it didn't last. He was a theatrical agent, would you believe? Always smelling like cheap cigars and counting every single penny. Don't get me wrong, darling. For every ounce of sex appeal he lacked, Arthur was kind. One can't have the complete Don Juan without always suspecting something. And when I divorced the boar in 1932, I remember my friend Dottie. She said, you could have had him for breakfast. Well, she was right. I could have. But at least he called me Lily. Now Dash. Oh, Dashiell likes Lillian. He says it's strong. And a man like Dashiell Hammett deserves a strong woman. And when Dash says it, when he says Lillian, it's like he's making love. So even with the vulgar Ann attached, the flower's grown on me. Have you got a fella, Mary?
Yes. He's a doctor also. A psychologist.
That will be Agatha.
Sit down.
But
the help will get it, Dorothy.
Bernadette opens the door to reveal Agatha Christie.
the great Agatha Christie. How was your trip?
Fine. Where is the hostess? Hello, Lillian.
Agatha.
Don't get up.
I won't.
Haven't changed a bit, I see. Where is the hostess?
Making drinks.
Perfect. You, what is your name?
Bernadette.
A vodka gimlet, please, quickly.
Yes.
No olives.
Yes.
I detest olives. Who are you?
This is Mary Buttinger.
I've never heard of her. Are you a writer? What have you written?
I'm not a writer.
She's a psychiatrist. Can you believe it, Agatha?
Positively dreadful. A psychiatrist. And an American, too. What exactly do you do, my dear? Give them Altoids when they're sad.
It's a great deal more than that.
And just what is an American psychiatrist doing in France in the middle of a war?
I suppose I could ask the same of a British mystery writer.
That's an easy case, darling. Don't you think? I've been invited to a dinner party. I sincerely doubt you flew all the way from... Where exactly? By your accent, I'd assume somewhere in the northeastern part of America. New York, perhaps?
New Jersey.
Did you fly here? Or did you take the Queen Elizabeth?
I'm visiting family.
Gertrude enters, followed by Alice. Gertrude gives Dorothy her gin and tonic and begins to drink her scotch.
Ah, our honored guest.
Is that mine?
Eventually.
After one last sip, she passes Lillian the glass. As they greet Agatha, Lillian wipes the rim of the glass with a handkerchief.
I, honored.
The great Agatha Christie.
Why does everyone keep calling me that?
Would you prefer decent?
I've just been getting to know your cousin, Gertrude.
My cousin?
Yes, Mary? I never knew you had a psychiatrist for a cousin.
We're not cousins.
If they were, I'd imagine Mary would have helped Gertrude with her marbles a long time ago.
Then how do you two know each other? Forgive my curiosity.
Forgiven.
I've never imagined Gertie keeping company with a shrink.
She attended one of my letters and we began a correspondence. Now stop fishing. If you want to fish, go for a swim.
Tell me, Lillian, have you written anything new?
Oh, yes. Another play about a bunch of lonely lesbians. All those schoolgirls and their pent-up sexual frustration.
The new play is much different.
Oh, thank goodness. Are you finally writing something about which you actually understand?
Oh, I understood every bit.
Did you?
Don't, Gert.
Did you understand how awful you made us look? Not just lesbians, but women, too.
Don't be absurd.
You enjoyed that, Dottie?
Dorothy, and yes, I enjoyed that play very much, and so did a slew of other people.
A bunch of grown women behaving like children, cruel and taunting and evil. And then there was the rumor, the creation.
It was a plot device, Gert. Nothing more, nothing less.
It made us look so ugly.
That wasn't my goal, Gertie. I was trying to show desperation.
What does Lillian Hellman know about desperation? What do you know about us? About what it's like being us, being abnormal vampires.
No one said anything about
You made us look like a bunch of fools, like savages.
Lesbians, you mean?
Women, Dorothy. I mean women.
It was a wonderful play, Lillian, but it wasn't easy for us to see.
Gertrude.
Read her the review.
What review?
Lillian's new play.
Does she carry it around in her purse?
Gertrude, it was theater.
Go on, read it.
Escapism.
It's much different.
Have we got any earplugs?
Lillian is a wonderful writer.
It's very good. Tallulah's in it.
Tallulah Schmalula.
I think I may have read about it in the paper. The Little Horses or something like that.
Foxes, the little foxes.
How many lesbians are there?
You should see it, Gertrude, Lily's play.
That would require going back to America, wouldn't it?
And what's so wrong with that?
A million things, Lillian. A million things.
I saw it again just before we left. I'd promised Tallulah that I would. And I always keep my promises. After the performance, we wanted to go out for a drink.
Tallulah always wants to get a drink.
But she was in one of her, her moods. And no matter where we went, the light was too bright, the light was too dim, the band was too loud, the pianist didn't know her song. And before we even had a single drop of gin, we'd walked all the way to 92nd Street. Can you believe it? And she turns to me, a bitch in heels and fur, and she slurs, "Dottie, darling, I've just got to get home. I'll fuck a cabbie if I have got to." And just like that, there they were, driving all the way down 7th Avenue, where at least a dozen gloriously yellow cabs, as if they'd heard her offer.
They'd hear it in China, Dottie.
I suppose I should have hopped into one myself, but I still felt like talking. Mr. Beecham would be sleeping and Wooly would murder me if I rang so late. So I just kept on walking, can you believe it, all the way up until every single corner was alive with jazz.
Harlem, then.
Mecca, darling.
I'll never understand it. Dorothy Parker and
Don't, Lillian.
What?
Whatever you were going to say.
Friends.
Just don't.
I imagine it's quite something, Harlem, I mean.
It's poetry in motion, Alice, darling. Everyone and everything tastes like bathtub gin. And even better is once they realize you're one of them, that you belong. Even better, Alice, darling, is when someone invites you to dance.
Absurd.
I just sat through your play for the 4th time, Lillian. Forgive me for making a little room for fun.
It sounds magical.
Parisian.
Oh, yes, Gertrude. Parisian indeed.
Paris is the center of the universe.
Maybe yours.
Ours, Lillian.
It certainly isn't anymore. It'll be gone soon.
Oh, you're wrong there. It'll never be gone. What will they do? Will they box up the Eiffel Tower, cut it into 1,000 tiny pieces and box it up? It will simply go away on a holiday, just for a little while.
Until when? With the way things are going, Pétain will be handing it over to Hitler any moment now.
Please, let's not.
Give me your drink.
What?
Give me your drink, Lillian. You will not drink my liquor.
You're insane.
Regardless of that fact, give me your drink.
Gertie, calm down.
You heard her.
Yes, but
You heard her and you want me to calm down.
You're also...
This is our home. Do you understand that, Lillian? France is our home. It is our roof and our floor and our walls and our carpet and our windows. It's a house.
And even houses fall. I don't say it to be cruel. I just prefer realism over fantasy.
Is that a fact?
Most of the time, yes.
Couldn't we please change the subject? Maybe to something just a little less depressing.
You know, Pétain may have his faults, Lillian, but he certainly cares about his country.
I need another gimlet.
Don't we all, darling?
But this isn't your country, Gertrude. You're an American, just like me.
Not anymore.
We're happier here, Lillian.
And what happens when Germany invades? What then? Jews? And lesbians too?
Alice stands behind Gertrude's armchair, Dorothy joining Lillian on the couch. Agatha is bored.
You are a painter too, Gertrude.
I'm an artist of art.
I see.
May I? Another drink, please.
Bernadette! I'm a collector, Miss Christie.
You have some very interesting pieces.
Interesting is what interests us. Or did.
The luxuries of art seem a trifle selfish these days.
Bernadette enters.
Oh, please get Miss Parker another drink, Bernadette.
The luxuries of art.
Yes, they are luxurious.
I'm sorry, Gertrude, but the life of an artist is anything but luxurious.
How many bedrooms do you have?
What's that got to do with anything?
The great Agatha Christie does not live luxuriously.
Don't be absurd. Of course I do, but I'm a mystery writer, Gertrude. I'm not an artist. Artists are bohemian.
We're bohemian, Alice, dear.
All right.
Bernadette enters with another drink for Dorothy.
I've forgotten. What's a bohemian?
The queen of wordplay can't remember what a bohemian is.
I've begun forgetting things, and besides, I want to hear your definition.
They're vagabonds of sorts.
And what is a vagabond?
Please.
Please, you. I've begun forgetting things. Go on. What is a vagabond?
A gypsy.
A gypsy.
This is foolish.
Says the fool.
Perhaps if we took the dictionary off the shelf. Have you got a dictionary, Mrs. Toklas?
Somewhere, yes.
Maybe there are several definitions.
There are 3 legitimate and 1 supposed writer in the room this evening, Dottie. Nobody needs a dictionary.
Well, you're the one who forgot what it means in the first place.
See anything interesting out there, Mary?
Snow. And cold.
You can't see cold.
But you can imagine what it looks like.
I'm on a mountain with a madwoman.
Oh, we're all mad here, Aggie.
Perhaps you are Gertrude's cousin after all, Miss Buttinger. Without the forgetting, I hope.
I couldn't find my keys 2 mornings ago.
They're always the first thing you lose.
And then I lost 6 words.
It comes with age.
What do you know of age?
I've heard things.
I've begun the process of forgetting, and there are things I'd like to remember and thoughts I'd like to think. I write them down.
Like what?
The first time I tasted Alice's lips, they tasted like venison.
I had just eaten.
Also the word pulchritudinous. My keys, because I need them. The sound of a klezmer fiddle on a cobblestone street. The laws of poetry. How to scream. I love to scream. The taste of scotch. The way Alice combs her hair so perfectly, all while counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 86, 87, 99, 100. The smell of wine. How to write a haiku.
A haiku for you. Look at old Gertrude. She's forgotten her mind and left it on the stove.
One cannot forget one's mind.
Isn't that the last thing to go?
I'll die before that day comes. My stomach will eat me from the inside out.
Perhaps you should eat something then.
Are you a friend of the Jews, Miss Christie?
What sort of question is that?
A valid one these days, and as the only one in this house who is not a Semite or even just a little bit Semitic.
You're awfully bold for a student.
I'm not a student.
Who are you then? Are you a writer? What have you written?
I'm not a writer.
She's a psychiatrist.
How dreadful.
Are you a friend of the Jews, miss?
Jews can read, can't they?
Is that a yes?
I believe it is as close to a yes as you will get, Mary.
And how do you feel about Adolf Hitler?
Oh, dear.
The man is a ninny.
I think we need another drink.
And the mustache.
It certainly is a silly-looking mustache.
I question his taste.
Is that all?
I question many things.
Tell us.
Oh, I question the moon and insist it is a lamp. I question a dog and declare it is a cat. I question the sky and ask why it is blue. Did it steal the ocean's suit and run away with the spoon? Who I question and proclaim, you are a fork. I question Hitler's mustache and pronounce he is Charlie Chaplin. What is the answer? Nothing? No answer, not even a guess. Then what is the question?
What happens next?
We wait.
Or we fight.
Alice?
Fight who? Hitler?
Yes.
Could I...
America isn't going to get involved.
And you're satisfied with that?
It isn't my problem.
Another?
You're a Jew.
I'm also a woman and an author and a lover and thirsty. Would you like another drink too, Mary?
I would.
Bernadette comes to the group and takes Lillian's and Dorothy's glasses. She exits.
It's that easy for you.
What, dear?
Looking away?
I have looked away many times before.
There are people dying. Women and children.
But not by my hand.
Is that the legacy you want to leave behind?
Perhaps no one ever gets a complete history of anyone. When my bones are dust, who will remember me? When my eyes have been eaten by worms and maggots in time, what will become of the memories? Will they wilt, dry up? And if they do, who will I be? Who will you be? A blip, a minuscule moment, a bunch of pages in a book collecting dust, and that's if the book survives. What happens when they come for those? What happens when they toss us in the furnace and strike the match? Say goodbye to Amelia Tilford and Karen Wright while you're at it, because if no one remembers them, Lillian, who will remember you? When Dash is dead and gone, who will remember Lillian Hellman?
Everyone dies, Gertrude. It's a part of life.
Not like this, it's not.
Careful, Miss Buttinger. If one sticks too rigidly to one's principles, one hardly sees anybody.
But that's exactly what we need right now, Miss Christie. Principles.
Can you prove it? Can anyone actually prove the rumor?
Why would anyone doubt it?
Because rumors, Miss Buttinger, can spread like wildfire, and they never end where they started. Forgive me, but I appreciate evidence. And I wonder if it's just as bad as all you rabble-rousers say.
Everyone keeps saying that. Everyone keeps saying, oh, it's not so bad. The camps don't exist. But if they don't exist, and if it's not so bad, then where is everyone disappearing to? The truth isn't a ball of twine, Miss Christie. You can't twist it and maneuver it and shape it and change it. It's not a piece of clay. It's a brick. It's a 2-ton anchor.
Says who?
The universe.
Isn't that what we do, though? Don't we twist the things that happen to us and sell them between two hard covers?
I certainly don't.
There isn't just a little bit of Agatha Christie in those pages? Not even a subconscious memory tucked away somewhere? None of your characters ever go missing? See? It's human for a writer.
Speak for yourself. My truths are truths and my fictions are fiction. There are no in-between.
It will only get worse. It might not be so bad right now, but it will get worse. I think I should be going.
No. Do not let Lillian Hellman run you out of this house, Mary Buttinger.
I haven't run anyone out.
What about Martha?
Gellhorn, please.
I've heard all about your little trip to Spain.
Don't be absurd.
Don't you think Ernest wouldn't tell me?
You're making a fool of yourself, Gertrude.
There you were, Lillian Hellman, the heroine, giving a radio broadcast even as the bombs were falling.
I was doing
You were
my job.
seeking attention.
Look at you, drunk as a skunk and quoting another lush.
You won't sully those names in this house, not tonight.
The man is a walking bottle of bourbon, and Martha certainly
You're
isn't
a
any
hack!
better.
Do you know that, Lily? You are...
And what are you? You string a bunch of words together.
I pour my heart out. You spew out your bile.
I need to use the powder room.
Oh, it's down to the left.
You're going to run away.
Bernadette, could you show her?
I'm not running away, Gertrude. I'm going to powder my nose.
Oh, for who? For me? You're not my type.
Gertrude stalks her off stage.
Gertrude, excuse me. Gertrude, just give her a moment.
Don't pay any attention to her.
You're being absurd.
She'll come out eventually.
Eventually.
That would be a good thing for them to cut on my tombstone.
What if that's supposed to mean eventually?
Eventually means eventually.
You always do this, Gertrude. Every time.
What? Do you do what?
Cats and dogs, my dear.
You pick on her.
Cats and
I
dogs.
most certainly do not pick on Lillian Hellman.
Lillian is most certainly the dog.
You're doing it right now.
I wasn't sure you'd like Gertrude.
She's sensitive.
Said I do.
Sensitive. Lillian Hellman is about as sensitive as a pork.
Must the two of you always fight like cats and dogs?
See what I mean?
It's what we do.
Bernadette, s'il vous plaît, another.
Of course.
Oh, you're exhausting sometimes.
Would you rather I bore
Oh,
you?
shut up!
Are you certain you're a psychiatrist, Miss Buttinger? Forgive my boldness, but you're awfully passionate about all this. And perhaps I am a bit skeptical.
I have a practice in Princeton, Miss Christie. I'm visiting some family. Miss Stein and I have been pen pals for quite some time, and I thought it would be nice to pay her a visit.
What about your husband? Where is he?
In America, he has a practice of his own.
Does he? Psychiatry?
Psychology.
I'm afraid I've never understood the difference.
Psychiatry is for the treatment of mental disorders, and psychology is the study of them, in a nutshell.
I wasn't actually asking, but thank you. I'll try to remember that the next time I meet a psychiatrist. And what about you, Bernadette? Do you have a husband?
No.
So, no children then?
No.
They are blessings in disguise. Rosalind certainly was my daughter. She's 19 now.
I was 19 once.
Would you like them? Children, I mean. Not everyone does. That's all right. Maybe when you find yourself a husband. Rosalind is, of course, from my first husband, Archibald. Dreadful man. A scoundrel, really, but I loved him. And I kept his name, would you believe it? But then again, how does one let a name like Agatha Christie get away? It would be suicide for a writer, even if Archie was a philandering bum from Chudley.
Is that why you left? I read about it, you know.
Even in America.
It was world news, Miss Christie.
World news. Because a woman needed a little peace and quiet.
They thought you had been kidnapped, or worse.
Murder.
Nonsense. I got in the car and I drove. After I'd found out about her, about Archie's little friend, about Nancy Neal, I got in the car and I drove. And I kept on driving until I couldn't keep my eyes open, wandered into a little hotel in a town too small to remember, and asked for a room. I didn't think he'd recognize me, even as I signed the registrar as Neal instead of Christie. But once the papers declared me dead or missing or kidnapped, my face was all over Britain. And the nosy little man behind the desk suddenly realized who this Mrs. Neal really was.
Didn't you think to call anyone? To tell them where you were?
Who? My maidservant.
Anyone.
I was surprised they'd even noticed I'd left, Miss Buttinger.
Don't you think it's a little unfair? Running away without leaving so much as a note?
When your husband leaves you, you'll understand.
I hope I never do.
Suppose it was a good thing, though, that the man from the hotel recognized my face. If he hadn't, I might never have come home. And I might never have met Max. Max is a wonderful man. My second husband, you see. An archaeologist. I thought that would be exciting, but the dirt and the dust, you know, it's hell on your hands, and the stains never come out of your trousers, so... But there's a benefit to it all, I suppose. The older I get, the more he appreciates me. If you marry a man, my dear, marry an archaeologist.
Maybe. Someday.
He is, though, wonderful, I mean. Sometimes I have to remind myself, I thought I'd have another child with Max, but it just hasn't happened. Sometimes I think he loves the pyramids more than me.
I believe we need more refreshments.
Haven't you had enough?
I'm surrounded by giants. Let me drink.
How many?
I'd lost count.
Moderation is good for the soul.
And so is gin. Bernadette, please. I do not like my state of mind. I'm bitter, querulous, unkind, but when I drink, the days are easier, shorter instead of longer. Sometimes it takes a little more than 1 or 2 to make me tight, and tonight is one of those nights.
What does Alan think of your drinking?
Alan? The man is queer as a billy goat. I found him last week in bed, you know, with a boy. Younger, too, maybe 16. A tiny little thing with hips smaller than mine. But I knew, you see, I knew these things going in. I knew these things when I said yes. But Alan is... There's friendship there. We spar. He meets my sullenness with bitterness and sees my rage and raises me his grief. What does Alan think of my drinking? We share glasses. He tastes my lipstick when he finishes off my gin. He sucks on the ice I left behind. What does Alan think of my drinking? He drinks of my drinking. And what did your Archie think when you ran away?
That isn't fair.
But it's what you did, isn't it? I stay. I might drink, but I stay. I face the demons, and I slay the dragons, and I drink to quench my thirst after battle.
And what about the scars on your wrists?
I got those in battle with a dragon. He was 30 feet tall, but didn't breathe fire. Just ice. Endless ice. And not the kind that clinks in your glass, but the kind that keeps you up at night, that freezes your toes off. The kind that makes your chest feel like it might explode. But halfway through this battle, I learned that the dragon had a name. Charles the Dragon. Charles MacArthur the Dragon.
The playwright.
The dragon. And we talked, this dragon and I, about life and love and liquor and language. And the thing I forgot was when you're drinking, talking can lead to accidents. And I'm sure that's all we did, talked. But there it was, plain of day. But there it wasn't. Charles the Dragon gave me $30. Do you believe it? He put $30 in the palm of my hand and told me to get rid of it. To put it in a box and put it in the top shelf and never look at it again. And I did. I had a gin and tonic while I waited for the cab and another when the driver started honking. And then I took the $30 and I went to the doctor's and I did as the dragon said and I got rid of it. I need another drink.
When did you?
10 years ago. He would have been 10. Or she. 10 years old. I keep thinking that someday I might stop punishing myself, but...
You can't forget a memory like that.
No. No, Bernadette, you can't. I want one, though. A baby, I mean, someday. Another gimlet, please.
A weak one.
And you?
Nothing, thank you.
I meant a baby. Have you got one?
A daughter, yes.
Ah, treasure.
How old is she?
Nearly 10.
And you left her all the way back in Princeton, was it?
Alice enters, followed by Gertrude.
I apologize if you heard us.
Nonsense. People argue.
Gertrude argues I speak.
Don't you get tired?
Doesn't everyone?
Must be exhausting.
It is, but the good kind.
There is no such thing as the good kind.
Then the satisfying kind. Besides, my hair is not grayed that much.
How did you find each other?
Paris.
There's more to it than that.
People come into our lives, Miss Christie. What more is there to say?
They might come, but they don't always stay.
I thrive on details. Forgive me, Alice, darling, but I crave them.
We both needed saving, Gertie and I.
Go on.
I went to the market and came back with a needle and thread to sew up the hole in my heart. I was a little thing then, and the pieces of me broke easily. Youth can be a deadly thing for a hopeless romantic. And so I fled. It was a September morning in 1907 when I stepped off the boat and onto Parisian soil. There was so much to see, but my eyes went straight to the bearded man selling very blue, very sad paintings. You could almost hear them breathing. This was Leo, Gertrude's brother. And Gertie was sitting nearby. She was buried in a book. She's always buried in a book, with her round face and her little eyes and her big black skirt. And even though I should have been at bed rest because my heart was still sewn up with stitches, my feet were moving faster than the rest, and I bought a painting I couldn't afford so that I could learn her name. We went for a drink that evening at a little cafe right on the edge of the Seine. It was the first time I ever noticed how rosy Gertrude's cheeks get when she drinks too much. It was the first time I ever noticed the lines in her forehead that crinkle when she laughs, and it was the first time I ever danced with someone to silence. It was always like that, then. With Gertrude, every single day was an adventure. And I do like adventures. Leo detested me. Or maybe he detested the love Gertrude had for me, and one day when it was raining, I knocked on the door and Leo refused to let me in. I was turning into a puddle right before his eyes, and he closed the door in my face. And I remember he told me I was abnormal. That we were abnormal, and I was an abnormal vampire. He returned to America the next morning, and I hugged my clothes in the closet.
You love her.
With every fiber of my being. Oh, it isn't always easy, but it's true. This, us, it isn't always good, but it's real. It isn't always there, but it's here. I don't mind the sullenness or the mood swings or the stories or the exaggerations or the criticisms or the hours or the days or the years. Gertrude is Gertrude, and Alice is Alice. And the days are long and the nights are longer, but her body is angry and she gets these ulcers and she thinks her stomach will eat her alive, and the doctor says it might so. I take the sullenness and the mood swings and the stories and the exaggerations and the criticisms and the hours and the days and the years, because without the years there won't be any memories, and I want to remember the way she turned needle and thread to glue. Time is always moving, even when we beg him to stand still. She'll die first and leave me here.
You can't know that.
Oh, I know Gertrude. And Gertrude will die first. And then I'll spend the next 20 years waiting until I see her again.
Lillian has barricaded herself in the bathroom and refuses to come out.
Oh, for heaven's sake, haven't you got a key?
I swallowed it.
You didn't.
You're right, I didn't.
Just unlock the door, then.
Why? Do you actually enjoy talking to Lillian?
I wouldn't leave you in a bathroom all evening, Gert.
If only you were as kind to your victims.
Well, just give her a little space and she'll be out in no time.
Perhaps I should leave.
Nonsense.
I never meant to
How about another drink, Bernadette? For all of us. Sit down, Mary.
Of course, a gimlet with no olives for Miss Christie. She detests olives.
Where did you find such a bright girl, Gert? I might have to steal her away.
We listed an advertisement in the paper.
An advertisement?
I do love an echo.
But Bernadette said...
Bernadette never says.
But just a little while ago...
Just a little while ago, she what?
She said she served you wine at a cafe.
Oh, yes.
That is true.
She applied for the ad after she served us wine.
We recognized her.
A happy accident.
Happy slappy.
And I'm the Queen of Sheba. Spill the beans. Where do you find her?
Does it really matter? I'm sorry, Miss Christie, I do not mean to be rude, but does it really matter where they found me?
I was going to ask how much they paid you and offer you double, but now...
I wouldn't take it. They've been good to me. This is my home.
We enjoy Bernadette's company. She's just...
a member of our family.
And you are... I'm sorry, Bernadette, but you're...
German, yes.
We met in Berlin.
And it doesn't bother you that...
What?
That they're...
I am German Jewish, Miss Buttinger.
Oh, I apologize. I didn't know.
You have a German Jew in your house.
Yes.
But the risk...
Isn't that part of life? Taking risks? Surely the great Agatha Christie must know about taking risks.
Not with Adolf Hitler breathing down my neck, I don't.
We couldn't leave her there in Berlin. How could we leave her behind?
You knew.
We'd heard.
If it weren't for our passports, I don't think we'd have even been there in the first place, but I was there to read some poetry.
Of course, they probably burned all the copies a few months later.
Awfully brave of you.
What would be the point of waking up tomorrow if I had no one to read to, Miss Christie?
Pretty soon there won't be anyone to read to here either. Can't you hear their boots? I hear them every day, getting closer and closer.
France will do anything it can to survive. Philippe will...
Paton.
She knows who I'm talking about. Philippe will not let our country fall.
Won't he? The crowds could be knocking on your door at any minute. Oh, sure, you've got American passports, but what about her? What about Bernadette?
That won't happen here. Not in France.
Don't be so sure, Mrs. Stein. Even perfection fades.
And what happens when they do? What happens when the Nazis are knocking at your door?
I think perhaps we should change the subject.
Why?
Alice is right.
It's a very reasonable
No one is
question.
questioning your reason.
Just my motive. I don't mean to frighten you, Bernadette, but I do wonder if you've all thought this through.
Put on some music, Alice.
It's all right. I don't mind.
But
France could fall. At any minute. Couldn't it fall? Miss Stein? Miss Toklas?
Yes.
Yes, it could, but I
What
don't...
then?
I don't know. I haven't got an answer for that one.
I liked Gertrude's idea. A little music never hurt anyone.
We never turn this on.
Something fun.
Let's see.
Glenn Miller.
I'm not quite sure that's how it works, Mrs. Parker.
Something we could dance to.
You can't just press a button and play whatever you like.
Oh, but if you could, wouldn't that be something?
Shall I show you?
I can never remember which...
Here.
Who will dance with me?
I prefer to dance alone.
Alice.
No.
Mary, come on.
I don't do much dancing.
Don't make me stand here by myself, bopping up and down.
Nobody's making you do anything, Dottie. The only one making you make a fool out of yourself is you.
Well.
I could hear the music.
Did it disturb your sulking?
As a matter of fact, it did. Bernadette, please, a martini.
Can we make this louder?
Wait.
But
Leave it on.
What is it?
Turn it off. Turn it off, Dottie. I can't listen to it any longer. Turn it off!
I don't understand.
It can't be.
Will someone please explain what's happening?
He just surrendered, Dorothy. Philippe Pétain just gave up.
We'll have to go back to America. Alice, we'll have to...
I don't want to leave
We
here.
haven't much choice now, have we?
How will you get out? You're in German territory now, ladies.
We're Americans.
But she isn't.
You'll come with us, all right, Bernadette? I promise you will come with us.
How? It won't happen again.
What won't?
I promised you, Bernadette, and Gertrude Stein never breaks a promise. It will not happen again.
What is she talking about, Alice?
Stay out of it, Lillian.
Are you a Jew? Is she a Jew?
It isn't any of your concern.
I'm afraid it is, Gert. Everyone in this house is in danger.
If we wanted you to know, we would have told you during hors d'oeuvres.
But you haven't served any.
Yes, Miss Hellman. I am a Jew. And it's only a matter of time before...
It will not happen again.
What won't? What won't happen again, Bernadette?
A little curiosity never killed anyone.
Except the cat.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Gertie had an ulcer.
Real bastard, that one was.
We had been in Germany.
Berlin. Be precise, it's important.
Germany is enough.
Details matter.
Gertie was reading some poetry.
Gertrude was reading some poetry for an audience.
And in the middle of the poem, she sort of...
Collapsed.
I'm fine. She collapsed on stage, sort of grabbing her stomach, like this.
They understand.
Ugh. And we rushed her to the nearest hospital, and... we were all obviously very tense, not just because she was in pain, but because this was the only... What?
3 years ago.
Thank you.
She gets a thank you and I get yelled at. Do you see?
Jews were being looked at differently,
They know.
And while we were in the waiting room, they brought in a little young girl, a little thing, maybe 18.
19.
She was covered in blood.
Her own.
All over here. And it looked
it was.
like it was coming from her secret place. All this blood coming from inside her.
I think I've heard enough.
You thought wrong. Go on, Alice.
6 men had gang raped her in a bathroom at Let Her Bahnhof.
The train station.
One of them had a steel rod.
It was a pipe.
And he...
Inserted into her.
I don't need to know anymore.
But you asked.
The steel tore through her cervix. I thought she would bleed out. There was so much blood, but it finally stopped, just as Gertie was getting into a bed.
I was going to spend the night there. It was clear.
They made me leave. Because I was only a friend. Or because they knew I was a Jew.
There was a curtain between the girl's bed and mine. I couldn't see much, just a sliver. A silhouette.
It was sheer.
Let me finish.
Go on.
I spoke to her through it.
You read me poetry.
I read her poetry. Sometimes I thought she was sleeping, and sometimes I thought she was dead, but one time I thought she was listening. I was released the next day.
Gertrude went back every day for an hour.
Sometimes 5.
She read her more poetry every day until she, Bernadette, was released.
And then we took her home.
Who were they? The men.
Who else?
Nazis. 6 of them.
It wasn't a pipe, though. That part you got wrong. It was a gun, not a pipe. It was cold. And I had been quiet for a while. I'd left my body. Or I was trapped inside it, but I left. When they were doing their business, I left. But when he came, the last one, the big one, he put it inside me, the gun. I looked at him, hard, and I asked him to pull the trigger because I wouldn't have to feel it anymore. Schieben Sie mich, shoot me. But he didn't. He didn't shoot even though I begged him to. Maybe because he thought it would be a Freundlichkeit, a kindness. And there was none of that in his blood. Or maybe because there was some kindness hidden away somewhere and maybe he was sorry. I think about that sometimes. Why? I think about why he didn't shoot.
He was frightened of his power.
Power is a frightening thing.
I take 3 or 4 baths a day now. I take them only hot, scalding, and I avoid the mirror completely. Sometimes I wait until there's steam and the water has reached a too hot point and I step inside. My skin sizzles like an egg on a sidewalk in August. I scrub furiously, a little too furiously, a little too tough on the skin, but it's necessary to get truly clean. To get sterile is how I like to put it. It used to be more. Baths, sometimes as many as 14, but now it's only 3, or 4.
Then there was no cafe?
No.
No.
Or any advertisement?
No.
There was pity.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll never have children.
These are my children. I take care of them.
We are her mothers.
When? When did this happen?
It has been some time.
How long?
3 years, maybe more, maybe less. I don't count the days.
That's a lie.
Lillian, don't be cruel.
But it is. Isn't it, Bernadette? It is a lie.
Yes.
You count them all.
Every single one.
You write them down.
All of them.
You mark time.
I'm marking it now.
You would have rather died.
I begged him to pull the trigger. The bullet would have already been inside me. It wouldn't have had to fight its way through skin and bones.
How many days?
1,111 days. I was 19 years old.
Like my Rosalind.
Like your Rosalind.
Did they know you were a Jew?
Yes, I think.
Why were you in Berlin? Wasn't it dangerous?
I was pregnant. There was a doctor.
Oh, God.
Do you think it was my punishment?
For what?
Punishment for what?
Wanting to get rid of it.
Of course not.
No.
But you didn't. You didn't get rid of it, did you?
No. The soldiers did it for me.
Do you know how much it costs in America? Do any of you know how much it costs? $30. It costs $30 to get rid of a baby. You walk into a room, a kitchen, usually. They haven't got hospitals for this sort of thing. And you give him your $30, and he tells you to lie down on his kitchen table, and you hike up your skirt, which is how you get in trouble in the first place. And the table is very cold, so your teeth start to chatter, and this doctor says, "Would you like a glass of water before we begin?" "I haven't had a glass of water in a dozen years," I said. "Have you got any gin?" And he did. I drank it. He did the deed, and I went home feeling empty and swollen at the same time. It's awful, isn't it?
I should make those drinks.
No.
Sit.
Please, let me make the drinks. It's how I count the days.
Very well.
Bastards.
Monsters.
It's evil. Whatever moves them, it's evil.
It will kill us all, this war.
Or the pain of it.
And they wonder why I drink.
Who does?
People.
Everyone drinks these days.
And if they don't, they're fools.
This poor little thing.
She's tougher than you think, Dad.
It's not the tragedies that kill us, it's the little messes, the little wars.
What if I helped? What if we could get her out? There are phone calls I could make. We could get her onto a boat.
And how would a psychiatrist from New Jersey be of any help in a situation like this?
We can all help.
How? Please, Miss Buttinger, do tell me. What can any of us do? Not just for her, but for all of them.
We waste so much time being silent. Do you realize that? Do any of you realize just how much time we waste being silent?
It's a little too late to raise our voices now, don't you think?
As long as people are dying, Miss Hellman, it is never too late. Last week, I held my hand over the mouth of a child, a little boy, because he wanted to scream when he saw them take away his mother, my friend. But we'd already decided. If anyone asked, he was mine, my little boy. "I'm sorry, officer, I left his papers at home." And if he screamed or cried or got away from me, they'd know, and they'd take him too. That's a fact. But it's not so bad. Do you know what they do to the children? The ones too little to work, do you know?
Enough.
They kill them and bury them all together. One mass grave for 50 little babies.
I think we've all heard enough, Miss Buttinger.
Then perhaps I should be going. Miss Toklas, Miss Stein,
Where will you go?
The train station. It will only be a few more
Won't
hours.
that be dangerous?
Of course it will, but there's nothing I can do about that now, is there?
There's something you aren't telling us, Miss Buttinger.
Please, Monsieur Poirot, give us a rest.
Who are you?
Bernadette re-enters with drinks.
Finally.
You mustn't forget the hat.
If you need anything,
Come on now, spit it
if
out.
there's anything I can do to help.
We know how to find you.
As if a person wouldn't be curious.
As Mary is taking the hat from Alice, she loses her grip and the hat falls to the floor. The francs spill out and all eyes are on the pile of smuggled cash.
Well.
Oh.
Mary.
I'm sorry, I thought I lost my grip and...
Look, Aggie, darling. It's like right out of one of your stories.
And you all wondered why I couldn't quench my curiosity.
Paging Monsieur Poirot.
Spit it out, dearie. We haven't got all day.
Yes, on with it.
Leave it alone, Lily.
Thousands of francs fall out of a hat and you want me to leave it alone?
Precisely.
Let's hear it.
Yes, dear, on with it.
And no bullshit.
It's none of your business what's in that hat.
The hell it isn't. Spit it out, Lady Mary.
My name isn't Mary.
Don't.
What then? What would you have me do? I trust them. Don't you?
Yes, of course. Even Lillian, but still, be careful.
It's too late for careful. See what happens when I have a little bit of scotch? My hands shake and I say so many things I shouldn't.
Welcome to the club, darling.
Save it for the Algonquin, Dottie.
Come on, then.
On with it.
My name isn't Mary. It's Muriel.
I walk in the door and intrigue follows me.
I'm Mary when I travel. My real name is Muriel Gardiner. Mary is a code name.
It was obvious.
Really, Inspector?
My husband is Joseph Buttinger. He's the
Leader of the Austrian Revolutionary Socialists. We know who he is.
Is a criminal.
He is a hero.
Can't be both. Second lesson.
In Europe, he's a criminal. And in wartime, Miss Gardiner, your company puts all of us at risk.
He's very welcome in Paris.
Not anymore, he isn't.
And just how did an American spy wind up in Gertrude Stein's house?
I'm not a spy.
What then?
I'm helping my husband. We've been smuggling passports over the border. To Jews. And others, too. I came here because Miss Stein and Miss Toklas
We've given her some money for passports.
But aren't you American?
They aren't for us, Dottie.
Christ, Gertie.
What?
You put yourself in a load of danger.
It's Miss Gardiner who is risking everything, Lillian, not I, not Alice.
If all goes according to plan, I'll cross the border tomorrow afternoon with 3 passports sewn into the lining of my hat. I'll be able to rescue 3 people with what Miss Stein and Miss Toklas have given. You see, that's why I've been operating under a code name.
Mary.
Yes.
I see.
And I was not supposed to stay. I was not supposed to be here meeting all of you. I was supposed to be sleeping in the train station, but something changed.
Yes, the company.
That didn't change anything.
Hum now, you weren't curious.
There is no cure for curiosity.
It wasn't about...
Then what made you stay? Did Gertrude Stein hold up a gun to your head?
I.
Who else? Alice?
Certainly not Alice.
And just how much of this money actually goes to your mission, Miss Gardiner?
Every bit.
How much does your mission cost?
Roughly 200 francs.
Dorothy begins to reach into her pocketbook.
There are millions of Jews, Miss Gardiner.
I know.
What makes you think you can save them all?
I can't.
Then why save 3?
Because an entire race will die.
And what about Bernadette? Can you help her?
If I move quickly, yes, but...
But what?
We'll need more. And it won't be easy.
It isn't much, but it's something.
Dorothy.
Please, take it.
You'll get her out then, Bernadette.
I will certainly try, Miss Christie.
And just how much success have you had thus far?
A great deal, Miss Hellman. A great deal.
Here, take this. And yes, Miss Gardiner, I am a friend of the Jews.
Thank you, Miss Christie. One never knows.
It isn't a very challenging mystery. I'm an Anglo surrounded by Jews in the middle of the Alps. Even Dashiell Hammett could figure that one out. Sorry, Lily.
What has Dashiell got to do with anything?
You can't possibly carry all that money in that little hat. What if somebody...
It is worth the risk. Thank you, Miss Christie.
Bernadette enters with drinks. She hands Dorothy hers and leaves Lillian's on the table.
Has anyone got a match?
What for?
I'd like to light this cigarette.
You're not going to.
What? Not gonna what?
Never mind.
Don't do that, Dorothy. Don't say never mind, because you never actually mean never mind.
I believe that Dottie was asking you if you'd be donating to Miss Gardiner's cause.
Why? What can one woman do?
A lot.
How many have you rescued so far?
Over 100 so far.
Extraordinary.
A fraction of our people.
Yes. But what do you care how many people you're saving as long as you're saving some?
It isn't that I don't care, Miss Gardiner. I never said that I don't care. I simply don't see the point in suicide. How many more will you save?
As many as I can.
But there will always be more Jews.
Not if this continues.
Don't you think it's all a little in vain, this mission? You and your fraction?
What is vain about saving lives?
It's a fantasy. We can't stop it. And when it's over, because someday it will be over, it will happen again. The Jews will never be normal. They'll never be safe. And some little shrink from the boons of America will not be our golem.
I've often wondered what it would be like to be normal. I've questioned my sanity and searched for my normalness, and I've stood in the yard with my hands clenched and fists yelling into the sky, because even though I'm not sure there is a man in the sky, even though I'm not sure there is a God or a higher power or a Holy Spirit, and even though I have questions, so many questions, who doesn't have questions? But I've stood in the yard with my hands clenched in fists, yelling into the sky and asking why I was not normal. But I've also often wondered, Lillian, if normal even exists. I loved you, and I hated you when I saw the children's hour. I went to the theater that night in disguise just in case you were there because conversation with you bores me. Then the curtain went up, and there I was in all my ugliness and all my rage and all my not normalness, and I was looking at the sky when I should have been looking at myself. This is a time that passes, but it takes time like a stone in your kidney, like a rock in your chest, in your heart. But when it passes, when the time passes and you finally realize it is oh so very normal, oh so very quiet, oh so very yes. Yes, for me it was a summer afternoon when the sun was hot and melting everything and anything, and Atlas looked at me and the sunlight reflected back at me in her eye like a diamond without the sharpness that can cut your skin like glass. And in her eyes I saw yes. I tasted it. I held it in my hands. I kept it safe. In my peripheral vision, I can see Alice nodding. I won't look at her because it'll make my final point null and void, because I'm going to keep your eyes when I speak to you, Lillian. I'm going to see into your soul. The Jews will never be normal if this madness gets ignored. The yes will never yes. Yes. Yes, I've always known you were a bitch, Lillian, but I never thought you were a fool. Open your purse. Say yes.
Muriel Gardiner.
Yes?
I admire what you're doing. I do. I admire your tenacity. I admire your strength. But I worry that you feel it is a duty.
It is.
We can't stop it from happening. We can only slow it.
But something must be done.
It isn't that I don't like a challenge. I'm Lillian Hellman, darling. Of course I like a challenge. I appreciate a challenge. I encourage them, and it certainly isn't that I don't care. I'm a Jew, Miss Gardiner, and of course I care. But I haven't got a death wish, and I certainly don't want to wind up writing my next play in a labor camp.
But how would you write if you haven't got any paper?
There's always a way.
Writers always find a way.
And so do psychiatrists, Miss Hellman. Or anyone, really. It's called surviving.
And surviving is an art.
Are you even a psychiatrist? Forgive me for wondering, dear, but I suppose that's lesson number 3.
Yes. Yes, Miss Christie, I really am a psychiatrist. Though I've almost forgotten what it's like. I'm turning into someone else. Into Mary. I'm turning more and more into her every day.
It happens. I used to be honest. I used to be brave, too. And Miss Gardiner, I was responsible. Someone called me powerful and assertive, and another said I was intelligent. And then one day, I was something else.
A bitch.
Yes, that.
When did it happen?
Overnight, I think. One day I wasn't, and one day I was. But you see, a person can only hear no so many times. But you're a woman, but the characters are women. What if you make it a man? A woman can only hear that so many times before she goes mad. And maybe I throw an ashtray or 7 and use the occasional fuck in passing, and maybe I do smoke 2 packs of Camels a day just so I can blow it in their faces. But I do what I've got to do when I want to make a point. When I want to get my way. That's why you stayed, isn't it, Miss Gardiner? To make a point.
I don't.
And with us, you might even get your way.
No.
Did you come here expecting an army, Miss Gardiner? A legion of writers? Did you think we would all go home, call the papers, our publishers, expose everything? Did you think we would put our targets on our backs?
I had no idea you were coming.
I don't believe that.
We weren't expecting Miss Gardiner until tomorrow.
It's neurotic to think about the things we cannot change, Miss Gardiner. It's psychotic dwelling on them.
I'm not dwelling, I'm doing.
And what happens if you get caught?
Someone else will take over.
Are you sure?
I can hope.
And that's how you sleep at night? With hope?
I'm certain, Miss Hellman, that when I sleep far better than you ever have and ever will.
200 francs. And Dash will wire more.
Thank you.
I must ask these questions, you know.
I don't. But thank you.
Writers are curious people, Miss Gardiner.
And cruel, too. That isn't an insult, Lily, it's a fact.
And you'll help her? The girl?
Her name is Bernadette.
We'll get her a passport. If she travels with an American, with me. And you mustn't speak. If they ask you questions, I'll answer. They ask less questions if we're with an American. If they insist, keep your answers short. You'll have... Miss Stein, she'll have to come with...
Go and pack your things. But the clock is ticking and it never stops for anyone.
Go on, dear. Not too much, only what you can carry.
Bernadette nods and exits.
The house will feel so empty.
Won't you go too?
Only when we have to. This is our home.
You'll hide it in your hat then? The money?
Yes.
That's a lot of money for a little hat.
Well,
Why Mary?
it was assigned to me.
Mary was the Virgin Mother of Jesus Christ.
I know that.
A Catholic saint rescuing the Jews? Sounds like an assignment from the Vatican.
It was picked at random.
Let's change the subject, shall we?
Yes, let's.
To what, needlepoint? Where's this hat?
In the closet.
May I see it?
I'll get it.
Are there others? Couriers, I mean?
Yes.
Do we know them?
You might.
Are they powerful?
Some.
Writers?
I know of one.
Actors?
Several.
Socialites.
Many.
And psychiatrists?
Just one.
Alice returns with the hat and holds it to Lillian.
The hat.
Well done.
Thank you. I wrap it in silk. It masks the change in texture.
Writers, you say?
One.
Who? Tell me who.
I can't put them at risk. But she has saved many.
How many?
100 at least.
And actors, you say?
Yes.
Alice, get me my hat. Quickly now. Get me my hat.
Alice rushes to get the hat.
Miss Hellman?
Why Austria?
There's a family there who needs our help, and then I return to Germany.
Why not do both at the same time?
How do you suggest
I'll take it to Germany.
She takes her hat from Alice.
And scissors, dear. A little needle and thread, too?
You can't be serious.
I most certainly can.
You're not thinking straight, Lillian.
Does one actually think straight?
How hard can it be?
Your heart pounds constantly. You're always afraid there's someone behind you. Someone who knows. Someone who might kill you or arrest you. Arrest would be worse. If they arrest you, they'll torture you. My friend Misha, he was caught some weeks ago. They found the passport sewn into the lining of his coat. We promised each other we'd keep going. If one of us was caught, we'd keep going. No looking back, because if you look back, you miss the train or the boat. If you look back, you're next. So I kept going. Even when his wife called to say that they'd found him. Cold as ice, lips blue as the sky, with a body so mangled and tortured she barely recognized him. Even then, I kept going because there was a train or a boat and a schedule. Some days I'd go without eating or sleeping or both. You have to make sacrifices if you want to succeed. It's like this, Miss Hellman. You can't duck inside when it starts raining because you're on a schedule, and soon your boots are soaked completely through. And even when you think you might drown inside those boots, you have to keep walking because everything you do is on a schedule, a very tight schedule. And you must stick to it because if you veer even the littlest bit off course, you might endanger the entire mission.
I've been wearing hats for years, darling. Unless these francs are 7,000 pounds, I think I'll be just fine.
All right, then. What would we call you?
Who gets to decide that?
No one in particular.
How about Helen?
Oh, boring.
Mildred.
Too stuffy.
Edna?
Edna Ferber is a hack.
Catherine.
Too simple.
I think I've got it.
Go on.
As Gertrude speaks, Bernadette enters. She has changed into street clothes and carries a small suitcase. No one notices as they listen to Gertrude. Bernadette moves to the coat rack and prepares to leave.
There's a river in Switzerland, just over the mountains in the Albula range. Its water is a crystalline blue. The Romans used the road for many years. In fact, there is a ruin of an ancient Roman temple there. Without the river, the Romans wouldn't have been able to sustain themselves. A hat with money and silk in its lining seems to me to have a lot in common with that river.
What's it called?
Julia.
The women never went to sleep that night, except for Agatha Christie, who had been the first to leave. She was tired, or bored. She refused to confess which. She developed Alzheimer's disease in her later years, so who knows what memories of this night stayed. The others talked straight on through morning. I'm not sure what about, as I'd fallen asleep on the bench in the train station next to Muriel Gardiner long before the sun came up. Dorothy Parker returned to London, where she would spend another month before returning to America. After a long battle with alcoholism, she died of a massive heart attack at the age of 73. Alice B. Toklas outlived Gertrude Stein by 21 years. She would publish a memoir titled What is Remembered in 1963. It left little doubt that Gertrude Stein was the love of her life. She died alone and in poverty, no longer surrounded by the luxuries of art. Muriel Gardiner would rescue hundreds more before the war's end. And me. We got on separate trains that morning. Miss Hellman headed to Germany and us a much longer distance away. What she did in Germany, what sights that hat may have seen, what stories she would tell me were only things Miss Gardiner and I could talk about in our travels. She would return to her practice and spend the rest of her years in Princeton, New Jersey. It was there that she would read Lillian Hellman's 1973 memoir, Pentimento, which featured a chapter about a young woman who rescued Jews during the Second World War. With all of the witnesses gone, it wouldn't surprise a soul that Lillian would borrow a little inspiration from Gertrude and name the mysterious woman after a river in Switzerland. Well, not all of the witnesses. Though she'd never confess, not even on her deathbed in 1984, Lillian had known the real Julia, the little psychiatrist from Princeton. "I'll tell you when I'm dead," I said.
Let's go around and introduce everyone. Starting to my right, why don't you tell us who you are?
I'm Molly Hager.
Thanks for joining us, Molly. Who are you playing today?
I'm playing Lillian Hellman.
That's because we have all historical characters, predominantly historical characters in today's show, which is very exciting. Can you tell us, in all of your background research on Lillian Hellman, a little bit about? No, you don't have to.
I think I'm not going to tell you about
it's a surprise.
I'm going to show you.
It's just
my acting.
Show don't tell.
My
That's
voice
great.
acting.
Yeah, through your voice acting, show don't tell. Nice. That's great. Good choices, strong choices right from the beginning. And in at the table tradition, Molly, what is your favorite snack?
I'm going to go with chips and guacamole.
Yeah, specific chip, specific type of chip.
Just homemade.
Oh,
nothing special.
Oh, just homemade.
Just homemade.
If it's more than ripping open a bag, it's special.
Yeah, and I think homemade by definition.
Is there another chip that you can have with guacamole?
I don't
like. Is there really
I guess
an
like
option?
Scoops, yeah, like a good scoop, you know?
Yeah.
All right,
come on.
You're done. You're done.
Bye.
And to her right, hi.
Hi.
Good morning. Who are you?
I'm Nikki Switzer.
And who are you playing, Nikki?
Gertrude Stein.
That's right,
I
you
think.
are. You are. We've had some fun. So I feel like we have a fun caveat in every...
In at the table fashion.
Yes.
Lovely.
Inevitably something goes wrong.
We, and normally we say like a cool thing, like somebody booked something and we're so thrilled from last minute. We actually, that didn't happen today. We have no idea what happened. And we were short an actor. And we're not going to publicly shame anyone. But as a result, well, I don't know. It feels like a different podcast, doesn't it? It's Bad Actors, the podcast. But as a result, in fun at the table first, I, Rachel Flynn, will be playing one of our roles today.
Hey-o.
Hey-o. My favorite snack is all of them. Nikki, hi. Back to you.
Yes.
In the middle of your introduction, we explained the caveat.
Yes.
You're playing Gertrude Stein.
Gertrude Stein.
Favorite snack?
I'm gonna be lame, but my new favorite snack is like oranges.
That's not
I cannot
lame.
get enough of oranges
Yeah.
recently.
Like the regular, like old
the
school
blood
orange,
orange,
or like
the car orange, or like the big ones, not the fucking cuties.
Not
Screw
the cuties. That's right.
Waste of time to open the cuties.
Absolutely.
I'm not 5.
Thanks for giving us our parental warning this morning as
sorry.
well. No. It's very exciting when we have to go explicit. No, I love it. It's always fun to get the little explicit on iTunes. It makes us feel like badasses. Fabulous. So oranges. Okay. All right. Great. Hi. Who are you?
I'm Liz Wasser. I'm playing Dorothy Parker.
Dorothy Parker.
Dorothy Parker.
Dorothy.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And Liz, what's your favorite snack?
I gotta go pretzel, I think.
Okay.
That's a really good
old school.
I feel like
Soft
just one.
pretzel or like
Just one.
No, I need crunch. Like I don't want a loaf of bread. Like I want like a. I also want a loaf of bread. All right. I don't know why I felt the need to lie.
We're all going very throwback today with these. This is solid. Okay, great. Let's go right around the table. Hi.
Hello.
Who are you?
I'm Megan Dorn. I'm reading for Bernadette today. And I'm going to be honest, I've actually really been stressing out about this question about the snacks.
Megan knew this was coming. And I got a stress text last night that was like, Megan can't figure out her snack.
I was really
She can't
freaking
figure that.
But I'm going to go with the one that I've been encouraged to go with, which is I call it banana nice cream. It's ice cream, but it's made out of frozen blended bananas, and it's delicious, and you can put like almond butter and a little bit of vanilla extract in there, and it is
I want some of that.
just golden.
Where's it at? It was at
my home.
That's just like the
If you freeze bananas and then you blend them, they get a consistency like ice cream. So
That's awesome.
it is delicious.
Nice.
Frequently eaten
Frequently eaten
for breakfast.
for breakfast and lunch.
Feels like you
and dinner.
can, right?
Yeah, because it's like
It's
healthy.
There's bananas.
Yeah, potassium.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fabulous.
that's my snack.
Thanks for that one. Hi.
Hi.
Who are you?
My name is Kristen Gehling, and I'll be playing Mary Buttinger today.
Fabulous.
Yeah, man.
What's your favorite snack?
Oh, man, I gotta go with chocolate-covered pretzels.
Okay.
Okay. Variations on the
So
Villa
with you,
Jam.
but I
Feel
need-
so
You're getting
basic.
applause
Oh,
from
you
our
got
audience.
applause
They're
from
very.
the audience. Yeah.
If it weren't for the pretzel, there would be no chocolate-covered pretzel. So congrats and thanks for the pretzel.
Big ups to Brett.
Thanks for being basic, is what you just said.
No, it's perfect. Fabulous. Wonderful. That is a good country. Seriously, we're going very well. Yours is a little bit. Yours is like many ingredients.
Bougie.
We're doing bougie. I wasn't gonna call you bougie. That's not bougie.
Hoity-toity.
It's
It's like slightly bougie, but in a
it's like
great
delicious.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down with it.
Yeah.
We're all bougie people. We're a bunch of actors in Midtown
I have a
Manhattan. We can call
BFA.
ourselves bougie.
I'm bougie. It's true.
Yeah, it's allowed. And good morning.
Hi.
How are ya?
I'm great. I'm Leslie Becker, and I'm playing Alice.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Alice Toklas. Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Absolutely fabulous. And they came out in the same way. We're gonna cut
It's
it.
all good.
Fabulous. And
We're not gonna cut
in
it.
addition to playing Alice, what's your favorite snack today?
Oh,
We're all
anything with peanut butter on it.
Yeah.
Just anything with peanut butter.
Absolutely.
Literally anything.
But see, like, that's a slippery slope.
No, I'm down. No.
Replaces peanut butter.
We do not
doesn't
judge. We do not
you
yuck
like
somebody
peanut
else's
butter.
yum at the podcast. We really don't.
I say that frequently because of you.
Honestly, it's my favorite. It's the closest thing I have to like a mantra in life. Don't yuck somebody else's yum. It feels like if you adhere to that, you can get through life reasonably unscathed, I think.
It's true.
Or without scathing others. I don't really know how this works.
This episode of At the Table, a play reading series, is brought to you by graphic designer Haley Schibel, who designed our logo. This episode was also brought to you by the Drama Bookshop. It was edited and mixed by Marcus Thorne Bagala. This episode was recorded live at the Drama Bookshop in New York City. The music in this episode comes from the renowned 1930s and 40s gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt. And as always, our hosts are Rachel Flynn and Ned Donovan. We'd also like to thank the cast and Steven for giving us this play to produce this month. If you'd like to hear from the playwright of Little Wars, make sure to tune in 2 weeks for our interview with playwright Stephen McCasland. At the Table, a play reading series is produced by Charging Moose Media, telling great stories through new media. And as always, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review the program. Every little bit helps towards going to produce more episodes and more seasons of the show for you guys. We'll catch you next time.